Ahoy! Crafting has drastically changed in the expansion in multiple ways when it comes to both the ways in which you craft, for example, named items. You can recraft them now, you can recraft artifacts, and you can craft bested slot gear much easier, though it will take a lot of time in return. I want to show you all of the different parts and pieces and how they come together here. And we're going to start at the faction shop because that's where you actually buy quite a few of the resources that you need. And then we'll also look at the the crafting stations themselves, and we'll look at the gypsum kiln too, because that is going to be very important as well. So we have to scroll down a little bit here until we get to these two resources. These are your main resources for crafting. The first one is a Chromatic Seal, a seal that allows you to craft in combination with a Golden Scarab and create a 700 gear score item with some of the perks they desire. So the typical 2 out of 3 perks craft. This is not automatically immediately a guaranteed 700 gear score. It's just easier to craft with it. It increases the gear score, so you don't actually need all of the pieces. I'll show you in a second. And then we have the Azoth Inductor here. This has a weekly cooldown to buy, and this allows you to craft a 700 gear score item with a Prismatic Scarab, which is the 3 perk locked version. So this is the better version of this, really. You can see the price difference as well. One is 5,000 gold. I don't know how many tokens this is without a discount, but somewhere around 20,000. And then the Azoth Inductor, I think, is like 75,000 by default and 25,000 gold. So quite the investment. And from here, we have to go over to the trading stations, because that is where we can actually do something with it. Now, you may remember, if you've played before the expansion, normally crafting with Golden Scarabs is quite relatively easy. Well, not that easy, honestly, but it has a few bits and pieces that you need to know of, but then it's fine. So you have your mats, you have your attributes and timeless, and you have your Golden Scarab. This will not work with the new tier. So if you want to go for the Mithril tier, which you can see here, then you do need this Chromatic Seal. This is a mandatory requirement of the craft, at least at the moment. So you can't just craft with the Golden Scarab. You can't free roll. So you are spending at least 5,000 gold per craft. Here you can see I can still use obviously the highest tier resources, the new ones, and I would now end up at 700 gear score. And what's interesting is, if we take a look at what I have right now, you may notice something is missing here. I don't have the food buff right now. I have the full armor set, and I have the earring, and I have the trophies up, but you don't need all of it. I can do the same thing and just use the food buff here and take this all off, and it would have the same outcome. I would still end up with 700 gear score. So that is very much worth keeping in mind. We're going to take a bit of a shortcut here, but here we are. Here are the mithril pieces. Another very noteworthy thing about these in particular is they're all balanced. You see, it's this equal elemental and physical armor, and that is the case for name drops and stuff in general, most of the time at least. I am assuming that that's the case for literally everything in the expansion. I'm expecting we will not see weighted armor anymore, and it will just be balanced armor, and you choose physical or elemental defense through your gems and not through your armor type, which is a lot more balanced and a lot better, because you could just skew things too much in one direction with certain setups. So I think it's a good change. So again, here we have 670 gear score right now. Every piece we take here increases it by 10. So this is enough to get to 700, which is our maximum. So we don't actually need to have everything. You would not have to have all the trophies, or not have the crafting set, or not have the buff food. I reckon most people are just going to skip the clothing and just go for the buff food, because that's more straightforward, unless you want to save the money on the buff food. Then we have our resources here. That's all locked in. You see, especially for the chests here, we have a ton of prismatic ingots. So this is 32 days of cooldowns. Here we have another 24 days of leather cooldowns and 14 days of cloth cooldowns. There's a lot of resources going into this. These also need the old cooldown resources. So every one of these needs an asmo for a craft. You're going to spend a lot of time on this. This is not going to be... It's very unlikely that somebody's going to craft a full mithril set with Prismatic Scarabs, just because of all the cooldowns going into it, and especially the resource cooldowns. Of course, you can buy these from other people, and then you can craft it quicker, but it doesn't seem like the most efficient method when there are other ways to get exactly the pieces you want anyways. This is more so, if there's one specific piece that you can't get, then I think this is where this comes in, and you say, okay, I'm going to use the resources here to craft this particular one, or maybe a weapon with specific perks or something. Then you have your craft mods here, you can choose them. Let's actually take some good ones here, so give me a second to find them, because there are a lot here. Elemental Aversion, always good. Refreshing, we could take Refreshing, and then I think I want Health. Ah, there's a health perk. There we go. Note to self, next time check for Azoth before you do the craft. We changed it up a little bit, now we've got Freedom, and we're adding an Azoth here. So we got Freedom, Elemental Aversion, Health, and a very high chance for a gem slot, guaranteed because 700. And we're just going to craft. And this will be exactly what we want it to be. For Mithril Plate chest here with exactly the perks that we locked. No surprises, no gambling as such, but a ton of armoring aptitude on the other hand. You can see this is almost 2 full caches here. We can open those real quick. Because you can, I just want to show you that from this you can also then get some more resources, some prismatic ingots here, for example, some prismatic leather. So you get some more resources through that. If you want to farm these materials very quickly, that is definitely an option too. If you want to really invest into refining things, you can get more cooldown resources that way, so you're not entirely limited to just getting them through actual cooldowns. And I think like the heavy crafters are going to do that and just rely more on aptitude crafting than they rely on actual refining cooldowns. Now, beyond that, you've crafted a piece now. So need to find it. Here it is. And what you'll notice here is that this is bind on equip. So you can actually sell this. Then again, it's not like you need to buy most of the resources anyways, or use your cooldowns for it. And the only difference at this point is the cooldown resource from the faction shop, which has a 7-day cooldown and needs some faction tokens. So there is technically an advantage in buying things here. I'm not sure why they made this bind on equip, but I feel like most people, unless you're specifically only out to make gold, will not sacrifice their cooldown. If you craft something that takes so many mats and everything, you're probably crafting for yourself, and you probably want to use that at least for the first couple months or so. So we're going to equip this here. Beautiful. And that's just one piece of the crafting. So the other thing that you'll see here, if we scroll way down, way down, is the tempered cast. So this is one of the items I could craft. I have already made one. Requires a bunch of different cooldown mats, some gypsum ops as well, and some Azoth. And there's basically an equivalent of this at every crafting station. There's one at the outfitting station, there's one at the engineering, one of the arcanists. So you can craft a variety of these. They don't exactly have all the same mat requirements. They're kind of like for example, the Arcana one requires infused alkahest as well. But they all go into this very similar direction in terms of what they require. Everything requires like a decent amount of cooldown mats. And with that, you can craft a weapon matrix. So that, in this case, that's the enchanted handle and the tempered cast. And there is also an armor matrix, I think, or something along those lines. So again, you can do a variety of different ones for different purposes. And this is important because this is another thing we will need. And for that, we need to go over here to the gypsum kiln. And this part is, in my opinion, likely almost better than what we get from normal crafting. Because if we go down here, scroll past all the stuff that's not really useful anymore because it's locked to 600 for the most part, we get to these things. So I have all of the artifacts in my inventory right now because this is the artifact test character. And here you can see upgrades. So let's just take auto. It's just the first one I have right here and also the one that I missed in my artifact video. So this is a flail that comes with a nice perk where you heal on block and you cleanse on block, I think it was. You deal more damage to stunned foes. Maybe you don't cleanse on block. Anyways, you can see that currently it has these like standard perks, but if you look to the right, then you can see that you can actually recraft this into something else. Now, I think this is bugged because it actually doesn't list Odo's punishment if you recraft. It only lists Odo's defense. I'm pretty sure this is also including Odo's punishment. I think this is just all of the unique artifact perks are just listed as one in the perk 1 here. And for that, to recraft this and reroll the last perk into something of your choice, you can literally choose any perk here, any effect. So I could just put Abyssal Attunement on this, and that would be the last slot. You need the item itself, and you need the weapon matrix that I just showed you, how to get that. You need 5 gypsum orbs, and you need dark matter. And dark matter is essentially the new umbral shards. There's a few different ways to get them. For example, I ran like a story mode difficulty expedition. Can link the video right here, maybe at the end, where at the end I got 2 dark matter, and I'm sure that the higher the mutation level, the more dark matter you get. And various other activities give it too, like for example the PvP track. I think you get 40 dark matter for 80 Azoth salt or something like that. So yeah, this is a very nice way to upgrade these types of weapons. Trying to see if I can find one. Well, it doesn't actually list the negative energy perk here. This is I'm pretty sure is a bit misleading. I don't think you would lose the negative energy perk. They all do have 2 perks, so it's kind of hard to show you. But this one would actually have it. Refreshing Cleanse. This is actually where you lose a debuff on block as well. This one would have, if you can look at the perks right here, these are exactly the perks that it has right now. It can unlock an extra perk, I think, from a quest still, but we're not going to do that. And what will happen here is if you are looking to get another perk, you can literally just craft it on there with a weapon matrix. So now suddenly I would have an extra ability perk right here. Pretty cool that you can actually use the flare perks on the shield as well anyways, by the way. So, very, very nice. I think this is a very cool system to optimize the artifact to your playstyle, even though they will still have a few perks that you may not care for, like maybe you don't want life stealing, you don't really care about that. I wouldn't, for example. But it's still very good. Little addition here, we actually did find a way to get dark matter, so we can actually do a craft here, and I can show you how this works. On one hand, the first thing I want to show you is, if you have a named item that has 650 gear score, for example, one of the name drops from the new expeditions, you can do the recraft for the 3rd perk, if it's like a 2-perker, and it guarantees 700 gear score, making getting 700 gear score fairly easy with this weapon matrix, with this upcrafting, and with the dark matter. So dark matter is going to be very important, and so are the resources for all of these crafting things, which will be in high demand very likely. And not only can you do that with these 650 ones, it does seem to work with certain lower gear score ones as well currently. I'm trying to see if I can find one that is actually listed as lower. For some reason they all show up as 650 here, but that's not actually the case. If we look in my inventory, then you'll see that some of them actually have way lower gear score. So I don't know if that's an unintentional thing, if this is a bug. It might very well be, but you may not actually be meant to upcraft the ones below 650. It seems right now it is an option. Beyond that, I just wanted to show you the crafting ones. So I want to get a insatiable graphol on this, which should be pretty good now on weapon. And that will add that to this. We'll get the craft. And I'll now have insatiable graphol. We'll get a little achievement here as well. Let's see if it actually stuck to the weapon. Well, it probably did, but we need to scroll down a bit here. Yeah, there it is. Now actually functioning. Interesting enough, perk seems to not be changed, so that's a different story. We'll talk about that another time, I guess. But at least we have it on weapon, and it is fully upgraded. So these are the systems that we have. These facilitate a lot of different ways of optimizing your gear. Some of them fairly expensive and time intense, and others fairly easy in comparison. Like some artifacts are not that hard to get, so you could very easily like refarm them into something like that. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's definitely a pathway where loot becomes a lot easier and a lot more accessible, and it seems to be the goal here, that people just try different things, try fun things with the gear. The general goal seems to be just have more fun, have more out there builds that have crazy combinations that somehow work. And I like that approach. I like that approach better than grinding for one set forever, and that's your forever set because it took so long to grind. Of course, that's not everyone's preference, especially when it comes to MMOs, but I think to make the game more approachable, especially, most people likely prefer this. Now, we have plenty more to talk about when it comes to the expansion, so if you'd like to see that, then consider subscribing and clicking the bell. I can't even say which video is coming next because I have so many lined up at this point that I am losing track, but it's one of them about the many things that are changing. Beyond that, if you'd like to get early training tips, you can support me on Patreon, and I get those in return, thanks to my patrons who already do exactly that. I will still make the training tips video. I think currently my plan is to make it after the PTR is over, because the prices seem to slowly settle a bit again, so then it will actually be more useful to give you those tips, because then not so many people are buying things at once. Thanks for watching, Duke Sloth out.